Welcome back to Low Carbon Lifestyle. In my last episode, I estimated how much CO2 I emitted in 2020. If you can't be bothered watching that episode, it's just up here or here, if you want to have a look. The emissions that I could count were about 4.5 tonnes for 2020. And that was about a tonne from powering and heating my home, about a tonne from driving around, about a tonne from the stuff I bought, and about a tonne from the stuff I ate. My conclusion was that my low carbon lifestyle was still about the average for a global citizen in 2020. And at that rate would mean we break through the 1.5 degree warming barrier in the next 7 years. We need to reduce our emissions and reduce them quickly. So what am I planning to do for 2021 that would reduce my emissions by, let's say, 10%? Here are some ideas. I wonder if you've got any. Please do comment below. Hello, my name is Tom, and this is a little series about a low carbon lifestyle. Sometimes this whole sustainable living can feel well intimidating, whether it's thinking you need to buy an electric car or install solar panels on your roof. The majority of us can't do that overnight. We can't do that straight away. Or it looks like completely changing the way you live, living off the land or turning vegan overnight, both of which are fantastic things. But for this mini series, we're going to talk through how each of us can lower our emissions in everyday life and what that might look like. First of all, I'm going to look at my home. And my main target at home is going to be to reduce my gas use. Since winter and paying attention to my smart meter, it has amazed me how much energy we get from our gas supply. And that's energy for heating, for hot water, and for cooking on our hob. And my assumption is, for a lot of the time, a kilowatt hour of energy in the form of natural gas will emit the same amount of CO2 as a kilowatt hour of energy in the form of electricity-ish. So if I can shift away from gas and replace the energy that I use from gas with electricity, then maybe I can reduce my emissions. So what can I do about it? We had this beautiful big old cooker that we got second hand a few years back, and we're not going to replace that. So whenever we cook on the hob, we're going to be using gas. So I'm going to be thinking about cooking more efficiently. Can I boil water in the kettle using electricity rather than in the pan? Where I'm using a pan, can I make sure the lid is on and on tight until it starts to bubble over, as it always does? Can I make sure I only have the hobs on as much as I need rather than pelting away using loads of gas? They are some really simple, no regret things we could do. But maybe I need to be a bit more drastic to reduce by 10%. I might need to look into maybe buying a portable induction hob that could be stowed away when we're not going to use it, or when the electrical emissions are really high, but could stop us using as much gas. Induction hobs tend to be more efficient at moving energy around than gas hobs anyway, and they avoid all those nasties that go into the air when we burn gas in our homes. And that could mean I'm using less CO2 intensive energy to cook. That could be an interesting experiment. But if I'm honest, the gas used on a hob is really small compared to the gas I use for heating. So how might I tackle heat? I could sit in the cold, wear a hat, 3 jumpers, 2 coats all winter. That's kind of already what we do, and it isn't really that pleasant. And I could try to understand where the drafts are. We could close doors to rooms that we aren't in. We could seal around any drafts in the windows or under doors or in the floorboards, whilst making sure that the house still is ventilated enough, because that's a big issue as well. I could, again, I've said this a few times, but I could look into getting a smart thermostat, like a Hive or a Nest or a Tado, and that's something I think about a lot. And I think it could really give us some good CO2 and even cash savings on our heating bills, particularly when life is back to some kind of normal, when we aren't at home all the time. We could optimize when we heat the house and for how long we heat the house, and that could be a big saving, making sure we're not heating an empty house when no one's there to experience it. So the Tado system does something really cool by controlling individual radiators, so they're only switched on when you need them, room by room. If you're not in your bedroom all day, then you don't need it to be mega warm. Maybe we could control it specifically like that. That could be an interesting thing to try. I am already experimenting with a local plug-in heater in rooms where we sit all day, rather than heating the rest of the house so much. And this is a bit of a trial, but only heating the room where it happens. The room where it happens, the room where it happens. The room where it happens, / the room where we work. And not heating the rest of the house could give us big CO2 savings. Although it's good to note that using electric heater will cost a lot more for the same amount of heat, i.e. so above 10p per kilowatt hour compared to about 3 for gas. But I'm hoping it evens out because we aren't heating the whole house. I could run it with a smart plug hooked up to if this then that and my Octopus account, and only run when the price or when the emissions were less than a certain amount. That could be interesting. A few years ago, if I told you I was going to use direct electric heating to reduce my emissions, I would have laughed you out of the room. But because of how the electricity grid has changed over the last 5, 7, 10 years, with offshore wind, with solar panels, with the move from coal to gas, we're now in a place where the emissions in the grid are almost as competitive as a kilowatt hour from a natural gas boiler. So it's something I want to look into. Obviously, a really simple way to reduce all of our emissions is to switch to a renewable energy supplier. And there are loads out there, and they tend to be really cheap. As always, I will say again, my code for Octopus is below. Finally, we could look at the building, our home itself. We did a big renovation here 3 years ago. The windows are fairly new. The extension with the kitchen is pretty well insulated. But the original part of the house isn't. We could look at internal or external insulation. The internal stuff might lose us a bit of internal space, maybe 5 or 10 centimetres, but if it was targeted just at a couple of walls, it could reduce heat loss substantially, and that could be interesting. I'm also conscious that this year we may need to replace the tiles on our roof. The tiles and the chimney look a bit shabby. I went up there before Christmas, and there are some tiles that are kept on with some masking tape, so that needs to look at. But if it's not this year, we will replace the roof soon. So I could completely replace the roof with a super insulated alternative, as well as maybe looking at solar panels. If the low carbon future is powered by electricity, and I think it is for heat and travel, then maybe a few free electrons from panels on my roof could be a great help in the long term. Could you consider solar panels on your roof, or talking to your landlord about it? I think you could get a fairly meaningful system for about £5,000, and that's a lot of money. But if when we got electric cars and electric heating, solar panels could really help pay for our low carbon lives. So it might be worth getting a quote or two from a solar panel installer. So I'm going to look to reduce my emissions linked to my home by, number 1, cooking efficiently. Number 2, maybe getting a portable induction hob. Number 3, wearing all my clothes when I'm cold. Number 4, blocking any drafts. 5, I'm going to look into a smart thermostat so you can control our heating and not waste it. Number 6, I'm going to experiment with a plug-in electric heater in little rooms rather than heating the whole house. Number 7, if you've not already, I'm going to switch to a renewable energy supplier. Number 8, I'm going to get the builders in to insulate properly. Number 9, I'm possibly going to look at some solars. Could be a fun year. My next big emitter was travel, in particular driving. We had a dream holiday road trip to the Isle of Skye. We borrowed a friend's camper van to do it, and it was a joy. A lower carbon version of that trip would be maybe getting a train and then cycling our bikes and camping in tents, but it would be a completely different trip. So this year, we're kind of hoping that we might try to cycle to Europe and maybe cycle to Rome to try the pizza if vaccinations allow this year. But when vaccinations do allow, I suspect we'll travel to see friends and family all over the UK and maybe abroad. A bunch of our friends and family are in the southeast. We'd probably get the train to see them, but in the past we have driven. If we did drive, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to look into hiring an electric car. There are now electric vehicle hire companies out there. We could do that. And in the same way for seeing my parents in the northwest. I've got the train over there before, but the links from the northeast to the northwest are really pretty dire. Maybe hiring an electric car for the weekend to see my parents is the way. Whatever happens in 2021, I suspect I will travel more than 2020. So I'll try to cut out those short journeys that I really could walk or ride. I'll look to get public transport where I can. Maybe I'll drive electric if I can't, and I'll try to keep my petrol miles down substantially. I reckon a mile driven in an electric vehicle is about 70% less emissions than an internal combustion engine. So that's probably something we should look into. I suspect I may fly this year. We've got family in Florida who are about to have a baby. So if I do fly, I will try to offset meaningfully the emissions linked to that flight. I'll count them and I will offset them. And I will offset them above and beyond what I already offset. So in summary, to reduce my emissions from travel, I'm going to, and this is my 10th tip, I think, I'm going to walk and ride short journeys. Number 11, I'm going to get public transport. Number 12, I'm going to hire an EV to reduce my petrol miles when I travel in a car. And number 13, I'm going to offset if I fly. Next, let's think about the other big area of our emissions, which is our diet. We don't tend to eat that much meat, and when we do, it's for a celebration or it's for a treat. I could probably order more veggie alternatives when I eat out or get a takeaway, and I'll try to do that this year. A load of what we eat is dairy. We basically replace meat in our diet with cheese, keeping the halloumi and mozzarella producers all around the world in business. So I'm going to try and eat less dairy. I'm going to look at halving my milk intake, maybe replacing with a milk substitute. I'm going to try and cook more vegan meals. I'm going to try to not add halloumi with everything. So, tip number 14, swap meat for veggie. Linda McCarthy's stuff is really great. Number 15, I'm going to try milk substitutes. Number 16, I'm going to eat vegan. And I'm going to eat vegan more. Next up, I have emissions linked to buying stuff. All those clothes, gadgets, books. I wonder how long I could go without buying something that wasn't food. That's an interesting challenge. Could I fast new clothes for Lent or for longer? What about new gadgets? Please, can I be excused any new gadget that would help me reduce emissions? Please. But if I thought hard enough, I think I could go without any new clothes this year. I have everything I need. Maybe actually I need some new walking boots. But clothes, I don't think I need anything new. I might want something new, but I don't need it. So maybe I could have a year off new clothes this year. Is that doable? So, tip 17 is try to fast from new stuff. Tip 18 is to try to repair, not replace the clothes I already have. 19 would be to have a year off new clothes. And if I do need something new, maybe I'll try secondhand. In my 2020 emissions video, I mentioned emissions linked to mobile phone use, suggesting that 1 gigabyte of data used 5 kilowatt hours of electricity to move it around. So for my 10 gigabytes a month, that would be about 130 kilograms of CO2 per year. So, could I use my phone less? Or could I move to a low emission supplier? I'm actually already with a supplier called EcoTalk, which is part of Ecotricity. Would you consider an environmentally friendly phone service this year? So number 20 is, possibly, switch to EcoTalk. Okay, that's pretty much everything I admit. In the 2020 video, I counted the emissions from my local council and from the national government. How do we reduce those? What could we do? Well, actually I work trying to reduce the local emissions, but not everyone could do that. What we could do is we could make some noise to elected officials. In May 2021, most of us are due some kind of local elections. Why don't you ask candidates, whether it's the police crime commissioner, local councillor, an elected mayor, what they think about climate? Some of the elections are for regional mayors. Why don't you ask them how they will decarbonise the city or region? Let's make a fuss about COP26 in Glasgow. Let's campaign, let's join Extinction Rebellion, let's strike, let's be an activist. Then maybe we could get some political decisions to start a green recovery from this pandemic. So, last and certainly not least, number 21, we should show up. We should vote locally and regionally for the candidates who get the climate story. There are my 21 ideas for reducing our emissions in 2021. Could you do any of them? What else do you reckon you could do? If any of what I've said doesn't make any sense, then absolutely, I would love to talk about it. Get in touch by commenting below or by messaging me on Twitter or anywhere you might find me. Let's make 2021 lower carbon than 2020. Let's stop burning fossil fuels in our home, on the road, and everywhere else. Let's keep them where they belong, in the ground or in a museum. And please do like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thanks.